and thank you for joining Women Who Lead. Today's show features three women who manage and lead some of the industry's most sought after luxury markets and who work at creating upscale programs that focus on the trending needs for some of the wealthiest portfolios in the country. Their skills range from negotiations to formulating strategies that will capture and serve the lifestyle needs of high net worth clients. All three manage their operations by providing programs, creating high-touch services that focus on the customer experience, but both for their agents as well as the customers they serve. So my name is Teresa Palacios Smith, and I am Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer for HSF Affiliates. And you've heard me say before, my family's from Colombia, South America. We thought this time of the day would be the perfect time to have un cafecito. Today we're going to have an espresso or de pronto una tintito, right? A little bit more upscale, just to celebrate and to learn about what these women do that are leaders within our industry. There is a quote by Coco Chanel that says, "Success is most often achieved by those who don't know that failure is inevitable." So please join me today con un cafecito, right? As we connect with our luxury market leaders who know no bounds to success. So with me today is Christy Budnick. Christy is President and CEO of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Florida Network Realty. She was recently named by the Jacksonville Business Journal as a woman of influence, no doubt. I have admired Christy for years because she's a second generation family, a passion in the business, right? But also because of her giving back and working with so many civic and charitable organizations, which I just think is absolutely fabulous, including the Dreams Come True Foundation. It's a nonprofit which fulfills the dreams of children battling life-threatening illnesses. And Christy, that's so amazing. Ellie Johnson. Ellie is president of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services New York properties located in the heart of Manhattan, where I was born. And I met Ellie the same year that I joined HSF Affiliates as I traveled to an event in New York at RIS Media. I don't know if you remember this, Ellie, but I just remember the first time I met you and that my first impression was that you exuded elegance, finesse, and charisma. And in fact, right, I read that you've been described by your peers as one of the finest and most charismatic brokers in the industry. And I couldn't agree with that more, right? I also want to recognize Ellie for one of our outstanding Latina leaders during Hispanic Heritage Month, which we celebrate until the 15th. And then Lori Lane. Lori, my own girl. She's there from my hometown and from Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Georgia Properties. She's Senior Vice President and Managing Broker, and there's so many titles: Luxury Collection, New Homes Division, Corporate Marketing. Without a doubt, she is creative, a visionary, and passionate about combining elegance, style, and class. The numerous awards that Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Georgia Properties has received in every area that Lori manages surpasses any count that I can ever begin to even tell you about. She was most recently named in the Atlanta Magazine for Women Making a Mark for redefining luxury real estate. So I am so excited and honored to have all of these women connect with us today. So as customary, let's get started. First, by hearing how did you get into the luxury business? And I'm going to start with you, Lori, then Christy, and then Ellie. So how'd you get started in this very unique, very boutique-ish business?
Well, Teresa, as you know, I started at Berkshire Hathaway when we were Prudential, and I ran the New Homes Division. So my career there really was a tough one because of the downturn, but it was also an incredible journey that led us to a place where, yes, we won quite a few awards in that division. And so when we became Berkshire Hathaway, as you know, I'm very opinionated, and I had a pretty strong opinion of the Berkshire Hathaway luxury look. And so Dan Forsman, our CEO, who has really been somebody who's championed all of these visions, or I wouldn't be here today, he said, if you don't like it, go fix it. So he allowed me to kind of do something a little unusual and go outside the company. And I worked with a designer and marketing company that really doesn't do real estate. And we came up with something that would be eclectic, iconic, inspirational. My goal was to not do something that had houses in it, but something that evoked emotion and excitement, and it just kind of made people resonate with a lifestyle vision. And that's kind of how I jumped into the Berkshire Hathaway Luxury Collection. And within the first year, our growth in the luxury market share went up by 118%. So that kind of took off, and we started to recruit more luxury agents, and just kind of led down a very exciting journey that I could go on and on. But we've collaborated with SCAD. We've done several different things to keep enhancing that business, and that's how it started.
Well, and I love that you thought outside the box and you really thought of what can we do that's different, that can capture the elegance and the style of the name of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services and what it exudes, what that means, right? And that Dan has been so supportive. I have to agree with you. I have to give our shout out to our Dan Forsman, because he's always been so supportive of anything that he sees that you're passionate about. So with that said, congratulations to all the work that you've done in that space. And Christy, like I said, tell me a little bit about your road to the luxury line and how did you get there? Because there are a lot of people that want to get into luxury, don't even know where to begin.
Well, it's funny. We actually took a very different route getting into luxury. We started off luxury day one. Linda Scherer, who is the founder of our company, and she's also my mother, she was actually managing a site project that is now known as Epping Forest Yacht Club. And at the time, it was one of the DuPont mansions that is centered over this lovely, lovely area in San Marco, where you have hundreds of feet on the river. And she and her team were responsible for the sale of the condominiums and homes of that community at the time that Prudential approached her. And so she went to the owner, Mr. Payton, and said, I'm going to open my own brokerage, Prudential Network Realty. And I would love for our very first listing to be the remaining lots that we have here in Epping. And so day one, we started with $7 million in listings, luxury listings. And actually our very first office was in the Epping Forest mansion. So we truly were luxury right out of the gate. And ever since then, that's just been a market space that we've completely commanded in Northeast Florida. So we are the #1 luxury leader in this area and really proud of it. But it definitely, to Lori's point, the materials, making sure that the presentation of every bit of your materials, whether it's the listing presentation, the marketing materials, being able to articulate and being very confident with the plan when talking with clients of that ilk, that's extremely important. And it's something that we've had since our inception in 1988.
That's great. I love that story, how you were second generation and your mother already had that instilled in that, getting into that opportunity right off the bat. And of course, the Berkshire Hathaway Home Services name certainly really helped, because it does. I mean, it is a name of prosperity, of financial wealth. And, with that LE Manhattan, the market that you're in, to me, is just goes hand in hand with that. So tell us a little bit, being a Latina too, because that is right, we have to talk about that. Most people think of us in a different light. They think of us in a different perspective. And to have you lead, I mean, I'm just so proud of you, to lead the Manhattan operations of some of the wealthiest clients in the world and some of the wealthiest properties as well, is something that I just think is very well noted. So that goes to your integrity and what the work that you do. So tell us a little bit about how you got into the business as well.
Well, Teresa, you started saying that a lot of people want to know how to get into this luxury business. And I was fortunate enough to start my real estate career in the trenches as a salesperson on the East Bay in east of San Francisco. And I lived in an area where there were beautiful communities and gated communities. So, but that's not to say that I, from the get-go, was given the properties that some of my girlfriends own. I had to pay my dues and earn the respect and build a business. So I built my business one client at a time. And it was that first time home buyer that maybe they got married or had an inheritance. We sold that unit. So, and then bought a new home and a larger home. So I have to give credit to the relationships that I have built over the last 30 years that to this day they serve me. And I grew up with, as their wealth grew, my business grew along with them. And it's been an incredible journey. I was blessed to move to New York 20 years ago. My husband was born and raised here in this town. And, you know, there's a lot of private clubs. And I always said I married the right boy from the right track. And I remember going to my interview at my prior company where they focus a lot in high-end luxury branding and whatnot. And I was very careful to make sure in New York City, we don't drive cars to go places. So it's your handbag, it's your shoes, it's your outfit. And, you know, I'm blessed that I learned to fake it until I made it. I am authentic, and people see right through that. And the reality is, for anyone that's out there listening to us today, don't be intimidated by the numbers because they're just more zeros at the end of each transaction. So anyone in this platform can do it if you work hard and you truly put your client's interests first and foremost.
Well, that's just beautifully said. And I know one of the things that, you know, for a lot of people wonder, you know, hey, am I good enough to get into that market space? And we always say it's really studying the market, studying the behaviors, and really finding what's the best interest of your client. As long as you do that and serve them well, you can do whatever you want to and wherever you want to achieve it. Markets, and I even heard Lawrence June speak at NAR, who's the chief economist, about how things are so well selling, every market selling well, and even prices 500 to $1 million, like hotcakes, $1 million to $2 million, really doing very strong, which in some markets, that's luxury, right? Depending on where you are. Tell us a little bit about the luxury markets. How is it doing? Is it boding well? Is it doing well? And Ella, we'll start with you because I know you just mentioned that you even are closing a deal that, you know, tomorrow, that's a pretty high-end property, and how exciting that is as well. So how is that space doing in your markets? And are they selling at a faster rate than in the past? And do you see that continuing on through 2021?
We were very severely impacted by COVID, and we were not a non-essential industry. So we didn't work until the middle of June of this year. We have had a lot of expensive homes that were under contract for a year and a half that was new construction. So the numbers are really skewed for us. Like I just had a closing the 4th of September, north of $63 million for a full floor apartment at 220 Central Park South. And we have another apartment for $25.5 million under contract, which will close the first quarter of this year. So that was a pandemic pricing. And the building itself is doing well, even though they were slowed down. But overall, before the pandemic, we were seeing a slowdown on the luxury market. We had an over surplus of inventory. Plus, you know, when you get to a certain threshold of price point, it's a very discerning consumer that is investing and is like another acquisition to their collection of art in a form of real estate. So their need, their want, it could be very ego driven. That is simply, I'm going to hang on to this asset for 5 years, as long as in 5 years I get the price that I have in my head. So when you go to the cocktail party, you can say, I sold my property for X. So it's you know, you really have to understand the market. And from an office standpoint and in a business standpoint, certainly Berkshire Hathaway Home Services to me is the pinnacle of being able to service every price point from entry level to ultra luxury. And it's something that none of our competitors have and offer in the way that we do. And, it's reflected here by the work that Lori does, by the work that Christy does, and the work that you do, Teresa. So we are about 35% below what values were. A year ago, we anticipate that we're going to end up probably around 40-45%.
Wow. So, we're hearing a little bit about that, in New York, because they're coming to Atlanta and to Florida, right? A lot of people are moving out to the suburbs, ideally to lifestyle. If anything, COVID has really taught us lessons, right? About, the space that we need to be in, and also the opportunity that we have to be able to be apart as required. So Lori, Christy, tell us a little bit about your markets. Are they doing as well, better during these times, especially in that higher end price point? And do you see that incoming clientele that's leaving from the areas that, that are typically more congested?
Who wants to start?
Lori, why
Lori,
don't
you start.
Okay. Well, we're definitely having a fabulous few months here. So our market is benefiting probably a little bit from, what Ellie's experiencing is people are maybe shifting gears and less wanting to live in the city, looking for places outside the city, moving to other states. So Atlanta has actually done very well. Our days on market are way down, about 17%. Homes that are closing, we're up 91.7% right now compared to last year. And the average sales price is up almost 5% compared to last year. And just even in the luxury market, we're seeing homes that have been on the market for longer periods of time being snatched up. And I happen to know that there is a closing that's about to take place that will be the highest price per square foot ever sold in Atlanta. So things here are really, really strong. And I hope it stays that way. But our inventory is extremely low. And especially even in new construction, the inventory is going away. And of course, the cost of labor and construction and materials is going up. So, we hopefully will keep this pace, but it may shift a little bit as we get into the end of the year. But for Berkshire Hathaway Georgia, we have had the best last 3 months ever in the history of our company. July, we hit over 500 million, and it has continued. So it's for us the best year we've ever had. So
that's great news. I love it. And you see that, right? Because of the services, the opportunities, and you hit it right. Inventory is a challenge everywhere. It doesn't matter in what market you're in. Jacksonville, let's talk about that market, because you also serve St. Augustine in different areas. So what are you seeing, Christy, in your area?
So much like Lori, we are seeing just off the charts growth. We really took a hit beginning in March, and we're started to come out in May. And we've already surpassed budget for the year. So we're feeling really, really great about things. But I think there are two indicators that I'd focus on here, and that is in terms of our pending sales. Pending sales are up 30 in the luxury market specifically, are up 35% over where they were this time last year. And when I'm talking about luxury for our market, that does begin at about 1 million. And we really cap out somewhere in that 10 to 12 million. So that's a extravagant price for us. And then when you look at the year over year in terms of inventory, the luxury sector is literally down by 50%. So, back to Lori's point, some of the things that were sitting on the market a little bit, they're not sitting anymore at all. And the prices that we're seeing, the multiple offers in the luxury sector are just, it's off the charts. And we do have a small level of concern as it pertains to the inventory, because we're sitting at 2 months. This time last year, we were at 3.5 months. So that's quite a difference. And so we're very hopeful that more sellers hop off the sidelines and begin, listing their homes for sale and take advantage of the market that, they can achieve a higher sales price.
So that 60-day inventory period that you're talking about, is that for prices in that 500, a million too? What do you say? Because in the past, I know that in Atlanta, for example, it was an 18-month. I remember, do y'all remember, was like a 3-year inventory that we had in properties $1 million and above. I remember that time in Atlanta when we had that, and all over the country, depending on where you were, right? So in that million plus, are you saying that that's 60-day inventory, or just in your average price range, you're looking at 60 days?
In our
Which-
market, it's 2
Yes.
to 60 days. Yeah, but for the luxury sector, which is $1 million up, the days on market are half of what they were this time last year.
And that's what we're seeing everywhere. I just talked to a really good friend who moved to Miami, and she said, you know, my hardest time is just getting under contract. I'm ready, willing, and able. Every time I try to find something, I can't even get there in time to make an offer because someone's already beat me to the punch. So it's a really tough market no matter where you are. And I'm really happy about it. But at the same time, we've seen this before in the past. So one thing I want to shift to is your leadership style, because all of you are leaders within your organization. And this is about leadership. It's about making sure that you know, how do we instill, what programs do we create, what do we offer our clients and our agents that is key, right? That makes our agents able to compete against other high-end brands, because we are in a very competitive market. You just said you've got, you know, limited inventory. So how do we take advantage of that? And what are you doing differently maybe then? And this is for anyone who wants to answer it, that would give us the opportunity to also compete against others within the industry.
So I really believe that fundamentally it begins with hiring the right people. So your brand is only as good as the people that are on your team. And so at our company, one of the things that we are very selective about is the people that we hire. So we'll interview 20 people and hire one. That's how selective we are. And I think that the clientele in the greater Northeast Florida area recognizes that. And one of the compliments that I get very frequently, and it just makes me really proud, is I'll talk with a site agent, or I'll talk with a you know, somebody that is in the building business, and they'll say, you know, anytime one of your agents walks through the door, I know it's a Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Florida Network Realty agent. So in my opinion, that's really where it begins. And being able to resonate with that luxury clientele, you have to have quality people, and they have to be confident. They have to be trained. They have to have regular coaching. And those are all things that we offer in addition to what, you know, I think most everyone offers, at least in the Berkshire family, and that is beautiful materials. We definitely set ourselves apart in this area with the materials and the preparation for the marketing presentations, because really, truly, none of the other brokers can even hold a candle to what we offer. So it makes
Wow, that's a great testament, because I think coaching and selection, we talk about that a lot. We talk about it from the home services. I mean, that's Gino's biggest thing. And Gino Bafari is the CEO of Home Services of America. For those of you who are not aware, if you don't know Gino, let me tell you, you got to get to know him, because that's one of his biggest things, is making sure that we run companies that are very effective in that coaching, selecting, making sure that we have the right people on the bus, right? And I know that's also everyone else's philosophy. Lori, I know that Dan's the same way, and Allie, your company is the same way. So what are you seeing, or how are you doing things differently and leading the people, especially because we have a lot of A agent, right? Those A personality agents that do have that high-end client that could walk away at any given time. So how do we keep them? How do we make sure that they are with us and staying with us the entire time with all the things that are coming at them on a regular basis?
I would like to start with that response. And first and foremost is humility. You know, type A personalities are people who are very driven by accolades. They're stubborn. They get upset very easily. And you have to become like the eye of the storm for them, and remain that calm and constant reinforcement that they are appreciated and celebrated in everything they do. But going back a little bit to what kind of services do we need to provide to luxury real estate brokers, in addition to everything that Christy said, which is true. And we talked about, you know, every good, excellent real estate company is going to have the technology platforms. It's going to have the resources. And again, with talent like Lori Lane, who is generous, not just with her own market, but I know she supported my offices with marketing initiatives. She's flown to New York and participated with me. She's helping me do a big recruit right now in just talking in those luxury platforms. But I think one of the things that is really critical, and Chris Stewart spoke about it at the national convention this past year and resonated so much with me, was the fact that we need to be reinforcing to our sales team that we are, I love that we trademark and coin the two quotes, a forever agent and forever brand, because we want to have our successful agents are those agents that are generational agents. Like I was talking about my career path. I have not been in the trenches for 20 years, and I still service those clients that were mine 30 years ago because they still call me and they still think of me as the go-to real estate person, and they live all over the world. And I get to transition those clients into my sales team anywhere in the world. So it's important to reinforce that when you are servicing clients, we are not in a transaction business. We are in developing long-term generational relationships that are going to go from the parents to the grandparents to the grandchildren and so on and so forth. So, but it all begins with having to be humble, because the moment you pretend or the perception of your sales person thinks that you're taking away the thunder or their spotlight, you lose their interest. They're going to go somewhere else. So the spotlight is always on them, and we got to give them all the time that they need to feel that way 24/7.
I think that's so true. And I really also see too that I know that every one of you do is also provide that support too sometimes when things are falling apart, because they do, right? Is okay, how do we work it? What are the solutions that we can come to and work out those problems in a way that makes sense and everyone wins? Because I think that's something that we see a lot especially in the higher end markets where things can be very volatile at any given time, just like you mentioned earlier with somebody who was going to rent and then immediately they decided, hey, we're not going to rent, we're just going to decide to buy, which is great for us, right? Lori, how about you? I know that with your creation of some amazing programs that really have hit the mark and really have created some very concierge type services with the customers, especially in that high end market. And I think you've won a lot of awards, but not just that, respect because of that. Tell us a little bit about that and how important that's been to our brand in making sure that we are keeping up and providing the best superior services that we can to our customers.
Absolutely. And first, I want to say what Christy and Ellie said. Absolutely perfect, spot on. The right people on the bus. One thing I love about Berkshire Hathaway, and especially how our companies run, and I think they're all run, is it's really truly a servant leadership attitude, and understanding very much within our organization that we work for those agents. That is, they are our client, and we need to make sure that they have what they need, that they feel supported. And of course, it's Berkshire Hathaway, so we have all of the tools, just as you said, but it is about how you use them and how you support your agents with them. And I do think here in Atlanta, our agents are some of the most productive in the city. And with luxury, what we tried to do right out of the gate was create something that was different and unique. So we brought all the marketing in-house. And so we have more of an ad agency style here, where the agents don't have the luxury designers in their office, but they send it in. And that way we can guarantee that there's 3 sets of eyes on everything, that we are scrutinizing the pictures to make sure that they flow correctly with the brochures. We're photoshopping if it needs it. We're helping with the copywriting. We've gotten involved in their social media and even in our own production of our brand campaigns. We very much focus on the 5 senses. We partnered with SCAD, and that was actually a wonderful experience. And it brought in a lot of really unique ideas that we could pass on to our agents that they could use. But it also put in our campaigns a kind of a very creative atmosphere, so the people on my team know that they can we have short films right now, things that we would never do in a real estate capacity. We're trying to do not just for ourselves, for the brand, but just to exude that we are different, we are unique, we have a global presence, so that agents feel like they can come to us and they know they're going to get a different marketing strategy than another company. They're going to have a unique experience, and so are their clients and customers. And I think that's really important, that they feel are going to a company that is innovative and that is going to drive their career a little bit further down the line.
Wow. And I think that's really the key, right? But you all, I not only you mentioned this, and I think one thing too that we have to mention is the cooperative spirit that we have among the brokers across the country. And I think that we share and we learn from each other, and we take ideas that one market's working and mastermind together, and then say, you know what? You might want to try this in your market. And this has worked really well for us. And this is what we did. And I think that is the one thing that I commend all of you, because you are all sharing, you're always giving, and you're always providing everyone else in our space the opportunity to learn from you, which is really what true leadership is about. Tell us a little bit, for those women who want to follow in your shoes, that are interested in, becoming leaders, what would you say to other females, in positions of power, that they need to do to help other women seek, to become like you? What would they need to do? What training? Did you take any particular courses? Were you just, involved in any organizations? What did you do in order to get where you are, so someone else that might want to do it within their companies can also kind of learn from you? And I'll start with you, Christy.
Wow, that's a big question. So what I would say to other leaders is that it is incumbent upon us to really reach out and help people along, not just women, but others in general, because in my experience, at least, most people aren't going to necessarily ask for the help. So, I have mentored both formally and informally a number of women across my career, and I've been mentored as well. And it has meant a great deal to me, and it's definitely helped me in my career. And in terms of helping others, the reward that you get out of that is just phenomenal. So matter of fact, there's one person that comes to mind in my marketing department that started as she was really kind of an entry-level marketing person, and she really didn't have as much confidence in her ability to become a leader. And there was something that I just saw in her, and she was so afraid of failing. And I said to her, I dare you to fail. Please fail, because when you fail, something good is going to come out of it. And I think that's one thing that a lot of people, especially women, in particular, if they're in a male-dominated environment, they're afraid of failing because it seems as though there might be a little bit of a bigger spotlight. And I don't mean that to knock men at all, because I've had men that have been great mentors to me along the way. But I do find that some women have a real hesitation with the idea of failure. So I think all of us, we need to step up. We need to be mentors. We need to notice talent, really look for it, recognize it, and call it out. And now that young woman, she is actually leading our marketing department, and she is phenomenal, an incredible leader. So it's a great opportunity for us ladies.
Wow, that's beautiful. I love that. Lori, I'm going to go to you next.
Well, it's interesting because obviously it's a very big subject for me. I have a lot of women that I work with of all ages, and I love the fact that I get to be in a mentorship role with these people. And so for me, I always want to be an example to them of how to lead. I want to make sure that my actions also transfer to them in a positive way and instill some confidence and empowerment. I do think that sometimes women they are afraid to fail. And I agree, failure is how I've even got here. The more I fail, the better I get. And I think that, people out there will always want to twist the narrative. They want to, in my case, there's a lot of people that prejudged me for many different things. And I have no control over that. So being able to really instill that it doesn't really matter what people are saying about you. You can do everything right, and there still will be people out there who are going to want to make you into something that you're not. And that just to fit their story. It has nothing to do with you. And truthfully, that's a reflection on them, not you. So stay the course. Don't give up. Fight. You know, I feel like women need to keep fighting. Everybody needs to keep fighting. You're only in a lot of cases you're only as good as your last big win. So stop. Don't ever get comfortable. Just keep fighting.
That's, Chris always says that, I love Chris Stewart because you mentioned Ellie, and he always talks about get comfortable being uncomfortable, right? Because that's when you learn and, control the controllables. Those are his two things. And I love both of those things because it's so true. There are things you can control. You can control what your opinion of yourself. You can control what you can do in the work and everything you're able to accomplish, but you can't control what others think or say. So just always do your very best and move as far as you can away from them so you don't hear them anymore, right? That's all what I always say. Ellie, how about you? Anything that you would like to share regarding impact?
Just about everything has been said, but the simple terms is you have to pay it forward and you can't keep it unless you give it away. And I was blessed to have a lot of women before me and men that were always teaching me the ropes and showing me how to improve myself. Well, and I think a lot of women are too insecure and afraid to share their own experience, their own strengths, and acknowledge. And what they're missing out on is that we can grow unless we're giving it away. So I have to make room to grow myself. So while I'm training someone in how to do my job, then somebody else is hopefully training me and coaching me to go to that next level. And it's that constant reinforcement that, it is a trickle down domino effect. And just the way that we're supporting each other in this platform, right? We are all going to walk away with our own experience, with our own new ideas and enrichment and becoming better people. But it's simply by knowing that it doesn't belong to us. It's just our time and, just going through that day to day, and all we have is 24 hours every day to be the best we can and help each other out.
Well, one thing too that you often mentioned, and I'm going to bring it up because I think, that uncomfortable zone, right? In your journey, tell me, what are some of the impactful moments you reflect that cause you to pivot into an uncomfortable zone? Like, okay, this is really I'm not good at this. I've never done this, but somebody's asking me, somebody's tapped me on the shoulder, but now you're reaping the rewards. And you at first thought, no way, I'm not going to do that. And anybody can answer that, because I know all of us need to know that it's okay to do something that you maybe have never done, because that's the only way that you can move ahead. And again, I'm gonna hit Lori, because I know, Lori, you have hit several. I mean, you're running several companies now, and perhaps at one point you might have said, God, that's really not my comfort zone. Maybe not. Tell me, is that something that you have found yourself in a situation where you thought, and now you're reaping the rewards?
Well, I think, yes. I mean, it's been quite a journey, and I would go back to the downturn where, life kind of fell apart. I think everybody thought they needed a new career. And I was running a new homes division, and, I had several big builders who had brought all of their business to me. What they didn't know is that I had slowly fired everybody at the office, and to the point that I was actually no longer at the office. I was working from my house. And so I became everything. I became an on-site agent. I became the listing coordinator. I became the contract administrator. I cleaned the bathrooms, you name it, I did it. And I still had agents on all these properties. I probably worked 24/7. I had, it was a journey that I don't know that if I look back, I don't know how I did it, but I think that's part of where life throws you into a situation. You can't just go, oh my gosh, poor me. It was, I have to feed 2 children, and I have a bunch of agents who need an income. I have a bunch of builders who need houses sold. Everybody's livelihood depends on it. So that was probably the worst experience that I've ever been through, and the very best experience. To this day, it really framed the rest of my career. It also probably framed who I am today as a human being. just by going through something that seemed almost impossible and turning it into something that was strong and positive for everybody. And maybe that experience is also what gave me the confidence to tell Dan that I wanted to run the luxury and to continue to keep taking on more and more jobs and projects, because I feel like there's so much more we can do and give. There's never a threshold of I'm too tired or I can't do it. There's more of a, we can all do this, and let's get the right people in the bus. I also have the best team I think anybody could possibly have. I would be remiss to not say that I could not be here without Dan and without the people that work for me. I'm very lucky. So my challenging moment.
That's, and again, we've all had them. How about you, Christy or Ellie? And Lori, I couldn't agree with you more. I think you have, taking those challenges on, and at the time you thought you couldn't survive, or how am I going to do this? I will tell you, I remember HUD. I don't know. I was the HUD queen. Can y'all believe that, at one time in Atlanta? And I would have never, ever imagined myself taking on any HUD properties or doing that or knowing anything about it. But we had to pivot. We had to have real estate. We had to have leads. We had to have opportunities for our agents. And I remember Kathy Connolly, who runs our relocation division, senior vice president with Georgia Properties, that's who I work for, saying, you've got to go for this contract because it gives us opportunity. And I had no idea what I was doing. And she was like, yeah, you do. We can figure it out. And just doing that and then figuring it out. And within a year being called on to teach classes when I, had no experience at it whatsoever, but it did prepare me. And I love that because it really got to me where I am today, where I feel like, hey, I can do that. That's easy. How about you? Anything. We can accomplish anything, right?
Oh, yeah.
How about you, Christy or Ellie? You can, you can say, oh,
So I would also harken back like Lori did. 2007 to 2012 was a very humbling time. And much to Lori's point, we had an awful lot of people that were counting on us to for employment and for so many different things, and to guide the ship, to give them confidence that we are going to be okay. And I'm not going to belabor that because I think we all remember that time frame. But what I believe the positive that came out, well, there's so many positives that came out of that, but one of the greatest positives came out of it this year. And that was our ability to pivot on a moment's notice when COVID hit. I mean, the Florida governor had not yet come out with his stay home orders, but we had already deployed everybody to home because we knew it was coming. We saw the other states doing it, and we knew that we needed to be able to lead the real estate community in figuring out how do we all do this from home. And it was a very different scenario. We also had to immediately cut a lot of expenses from our budget because we didn't know that today was going to be so beautiful and the real estate market so frothy. So a lot of those lessons, quite frankly, came from the downturn that we all experienced, and I wouldn't give anything for them. It taught us so much.
So true. So, COVID has really taught us a lot of lessons and opportunities, and we're here and we're selling real estate, and we're still, sheltering that, which is the biggest thing that I think all of us took away from that, the home, and how important that is for every one of us. Ellie, I know that we are running, believe it or not, can y'all believe it? We're almost done up with time. So I'm going to ask you, what is the best advice that anyone ever gave you in any kind of, role or work or, that you would like to share with anyone?
There was a woman named Judy Dickey who was a top producer at a real estate company that I worked for when I started my career. And she gave me two pieces of advice that to this day I carry through. And today my sales team are my clients, and I pass it on to my salespeople. And she said, if you do the right thing by people, the commissions will come. And she also reminded me, she said, desperate people do desperate things. So it was simple advice that just really put things in perspective for me. And my real estate career was successful from the get-go. My first year, I was Rookie of the Year in the entire county where I started my career. And it was truly because I was so driven by providing that highest level of service to the people that entrusted me with their assets, their home. And, I name a lot of celebrities, a lot of historical figures, but this was a woman in the trenches who just knew how to do it. And it was simply what we're taught every day by doing the right thing for others.
What great advice. That's really nice. Lori or Christy?
Lori, go ahead.
Well, I had to reflect on that a little bit, and I thought it through. And it's funny, the one thing that always stuck with me is a professor from USC when I was going to school there. And long story as to how we got to this conversation, but it makes a lot of sense in some of what we were talking about, and really knowing your worth, and how people sometimes will, try and get in there and kill your confidence, or change the game a little bit. And he had said to me, in life, you can't always make people do the right thing, but the best revenge is success. And you don't dwell on those who are out to get you. You just move forward, and you power on. And that's what I've always kept in my head is I don't need to turn. I don't need to look. I don't need to get discouraged. I don't need to acknowledge. I just need to go be successful. And that's enough. So that's,
I love the best revenge is success.
That's what he told
That
me.
is just poignant, right? That is so true. Christy, how about you as we leave with the final words?
Yeah, so one of our founding partners was, it's a man by the name of Tom Petway. And the one thing that he said to me from the moment that I remember meeting him is that there's no such thing as a shortcut, not in business, not in your personal life. So don't look for shortcuts. Instead, do the hard work that's required to get you there. And that's anytime there's, an opportunity to go this way and, maybe take a little bit of a shortcut, I think about that. And he's absolutely right. In my career, I found that to be true 100%.
Well, that could not, first of all, I want to thank you, for participating on this show with me today, and also our audience, and for taking the time to, giving us a glimpse into your world. I think sometimes we don't know the luxury markets. We don't know our leadership styles, how we were able to make it. And I think you've all expressed such beautiful stories and shared your inner souls today with our audience. I really enjoyed our little cafecito, right? Our I would say cappuccino or espresso, because we're going luxury today. And I want to again thank you for sharing this time. As we tune out, I am tagging all of you as leadership influencers. And women, what is a leadership influencer? It's women who have a proven track record, triumphed in business, and now motivate and inspire others to create similar success through the sharing of knowledge, attitude, philosophy, and strategy. You guys are my leadership influencers. So thank you so very much. Please make sure you comment, like our page, join our YouTube channel, and join me back here on October 28th, 2 weeks from today, during Women Crush Wednesdays, right here on this channel, when we zoom in on the unstoppable women behind the network. Now, what does that mean? Who are we going to have on the show? We're going to have Karen Kane, who's Vice President of Program Management, Denise Doyle, Vice President of Global Conferences and Meeting Services, and Wendy Doran, VP of Global Marketing and Communications. They all are my colleagues at HSF Affiliates. They're all behind the scenes. You wouldn't know who they are unless you work with us, but they do amazing work, and I just can't wait for you to get to hear how they lead. Thank you again for watching the show, and please remember, always bring other women up the ladder as you climb to the top. See you in 2 weeks. Bye-bye, ladies.
Thanks, Teresa.